Thursday, September 28th, 2017, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. There's quite a bit to talk about this morning. First of all, I'll look at the market, see what they're doing. It's 9:35 a.m. London time. So we've got gold still languishing, spot gold in terms of fiat dollars, 1281.65. That's down a buck from late yesterday. Overnight, we've had a range between 1285 and 1277.60. Silver 1673, down 2 cents. The range has been 1682 to 1667. Silver looked like it was trying to hold yesterday when gold was down $5 or $6. Silver is actually unchanged. Sometimes silver was trading up on the day. So silver seems to be trying to hold on here at the moment. The stock market made new all-time highs yesterday. I think the Russell 2000, the Dow Industrials also made a new all-time high. This morning, the Dow is down 6 at 22,331. S&P 2505, down 1. Crude oil still doing very well, 52.26. Pound weaker this morning, British pound down 16 pips or 0.1% at 133.69. The euro slightly stronger, up 8 pips at 117.53. Dollar yen, well, made a high, the dollar this morning overnight of 113.21, but now we're back down to 112.74, actually down 8 pips. On the day. The other stock markets, the FTSE, virtually unchanged at 73.15. The German DAX, 12,697, up 34. So that's the markets. I've also noticed that recently Treasury yields have risen quite a bit. We touched like 205 recently in the 10-year yield, and now the 10-year yield is actually rising fairly quickly. It looked like it started back a few weeks ago when the, we had the Bank of England meeting, and also 10-year yields in the UK, they've gone up quite a bit. And so there is some worry now that the central banks see some kind of the inflation that they don't like, i.e. the inflation that's measured through the CPI, or the price rises that's measured through the CPI. They're okay with asset prices, and they're kind of saying they don't understand what's happened to inflation. I think they don't really know what inflation is. They've been taught, PhD economists have been taught that inflation is CPI. They haven't been taught the classical definition of inflation, which is the creation of money and credit out of thin air, because they believe in their stuff so much that they're blinkered. But yeah, so the 10-year yield, 233, it's still, not at levels that are dangerous for the bond market, because, when yields go up, prices drop. The key level here is 2.66, well, 2.63 or thereabouts in the US 10-year yield. So continue to go up. So that's something to keep an eye on, the bond markets. In the UK, the 10-year yield now is 138. Just about a month ago, I think it was about under 1%. So UK, yeah, up. It's gone up 35 basis points in the last month. UK 10-year yield. The US 10-year yield has gone up, let's see, only 18 basis points in the last month. But yeah, let's keep an eye on bonds, the price of money. So I said there's quite a bit to talk about today. Well, first of all, I want to talk about the little book here, The Teacher's Self Guide to Numismatics. And I'm going to look at the section where they talk about money. Just basically, if you see there, just money. And I will read a little bit about it, okay? And first of all, the term money comes from moneta. Moneta, the surname of the surname the Romans gave to Juno, the giver of counsel. The Roman mint was set up in her temple, moneta. That's where the money the word money comes from, moneta. The Roman mint was set up there. That's where they kept the coins and the metals. They call it metals as well. But money, in a popular sense, money is synonymous with coin. In the broader sense, it implies any medium of exchange. What exactly constitutes money is still a debated point in economics. And this is like from 1960, this book, by the way. All coins are money, and under the term we may include paper money and banknotes, credit documents, however, such as checks. Promissory notes and bills of exchange are dependent on personal good faith and solvency. And these, therefore, would be ruled out of a strict definition. And it goes on to say, bullion in one sense is money, and in fact, foreign debts are often settled in bullion. And it goes on to say token coins, which are like Cooper nickel coins that we use today. Token coins are a broader line case, as some tokens are officially authorized as currency and others quite the reverse. In any case, their value is localized, so they're only accepted in the country where they're minted, the token coins, as they cannot be used in settling foreign debt. So you see, back in 1960, people knew still that foreign debts can only be settled in bullion, and I don't think anything has changed, and that's why countries have thousands of tons in in gold reserves, to settle their debts. And nothing has changed. They don't keep it as a tradition, Mr. Bernanke. It's not a tradition, it's a way of settling debts. So, and why did I want to bring that up? Well, I want to look at the U.S. Gold holdings. And first of all, looking here at an article on the national debt. It's from the CFR.org, but it tells us, the publicly held debt of the United States is in foreign hands is a total of 6 trillion, and held by governments is a total of 4 trillion. So this article is from May this year. So basically, foreign governments hold 4 trillion worth of U.S. debt. And what am I trying to say here? Well, the U.S. supposedly has, and I'm going by their official numbers, I know a lot of people don't think they have any gold left. The U.S. has 8,133.5 metric tons of gold, which equates to just under 261,500,000 troy ounces of gold. And the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury value that gold at $42.22. So if you take that, and multiply by the amount of ounces they have, it's about 11 billion at $42, which is like 0.275% of the 4,000, the foreign held debt by governments. So that's 0.275%. And if you wanted to get back to like 40% gold cover that the Federal Reserve used to have, I think, back in the 50s or 60s, to foreign governments, the price of gold would have to be revalued to just above 6,000. And that's just for the 4 trillion held by governments. So that gives you an idea that the U.S. does have that gold card, that they can use. And I know a lot of people don't think that gold is there, and that might not be there, but it could be there. It might take, because they can buy the gold, the physical gold, but it will raise, it will raise the price. The gold might not be there, but as a sovereign government that can issue money, they can use the paper money to buy the gold. But if they want to settle an account, if you see, that's why I think, as Jim Sinclair says, gold is the ultimate, settler as a debt, especially between foreign countries, as you know, this little book is saying here. So that's where we are right now, you know, and you could actually use the 6 trillion amount, you know, which is all, you know, U.S. debt held by foreigners, including, you know, private sectors and non-government entities. So I thought that was quite interesting. So yeah, the U.S. has 261.5 million ounces of gold, valued at $42.22. That's valued by the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve. It's held in gold certificates at the Federal Reserve, but that's only worth 11 billion. So if they revalue the price of gold, you know, to 6,100, for example, that would signify 40% of the 4 trillion that's owned to foreign governments. So you can get an idea of how, you know, the U.S. can actually reset the system, or not only the U.S., but all the countries involved that, you know, are creditors and, you know, and all debtors. You can see how gold is used to reset things. Will they do that? I don't know. Is that why Treasury Secretary Mnuchin went to Fort Knox a month or so ago? Was that a signal to the Chinese? Look, we still have the gold. We can do the reset. And is that why Steve Bannon went to China? I don't know. Maybe nothing will happen and gold will, you know, the gold price will languish. But that's something to keep an, you know, to keep an eye on. I think it's something interesting that the only way to settle debts with foreign countries is through bullion. But if you've got so much paper debt, you have to revalue, you know, or devalue the paper, devalue the debt, revalue the price of gold. That's how you do it. So what else is going on? Oh yeah, you know, there's this a lot of talk in the UK. My wife listens to LBC. I don't listen too much to it, but I hear what they're talking about. There's talk about like free market capitalism and socialism or communism, because the Labour Party leader made a speech yesterday, Jeremy Corbyn, and he wants to take the UK back to, you know, state-owned enterprises, socialism, subsidies, rent controls, all things that we know don't work. And on the other side of the coin today, Theresa May, the Prime Minister, is supposed to give a speech at the Bank of England, of all places, championing the free market and small government. Very ironic that she's at a bank that is a monopoly. It's like a cartel that controls money, you know, and she's talking about free markets. And you can see how people get confused. They, you know, they think, oh, what we've got now is free market capitalism. You know, the conservatives are part of that, you know, the Tory government. While on the other hand, you have, you know, Labour, they're socialists, you know, everything that's gone wrong now, you know, high rents, you know, low wage growth, you know, the cost of living going up. All that's because of greedy capitalists and free market. We want to go back to socialism. These are all like, you know, they call it cognitive dissonance, getting people confused about everything. First of all, the Bank of England, if you wanted to talk about free market and capitalism, you wouldn't go to the Bank of England. The Bank of England is not a free market. They have a monopoly. They're like the OPEC of money in this country. So, you know, the Bank for International Settlements, which is the bank for all major central banks, is like OPEC. So the Bank of England is basically a monopolist. So it's weird that Theresa May goes to talk about the, you know, advantages of free market and capitalism at the Bank of England. And I don't think, you know, I think the left and right are basically, you know, the problem. we still have big government, despite the fact that Theresa May is the prime minister. So just wanted to put that across. What else is going on? Yeah, the other talk is about Ryanair, which is a low-cost airline from Ireland, which is very popular in the UK. People pay 20, 30 pounds, I don't know, just to fly on their, numerous holidays a year. I know people who take loads of holidays. And, I think what's happened there is that people are realizing why Ryanair was so cheap. Well, my wife was saying that the reason why this has happened, they canceled flights, is that they were charging pilots to work for them like 30,000 euros. So, and you would be self-employed. So here you are, a company that charges their pilots 30 euros just to fly for them. They're self-employed. And they've gotten better deals now from other airlines. So they're saying, we're leaving. So they just walked out, and the CEO is having to cancel flights. It's just a symptom of, things, of how they keep it so cheap. Basically, they make, they don't have employees, and they charge these people, the pilots, to work for them. Of course, in the UK, there's a lot of regulators who are outraged, and people are complaining, oh, I bought my ticket and now the flight is canceled. But I'm sorry, there's something wrong if you're only paying, less than 50 or 100 pounds for a return flight to Spain. So I feel, I'm not saying Ryanair is right. It's just a fact. It's just that you can't, it's just a symptom that, yeah, it's not sustainable. All these holidays on the cheap, it's coming home to roost. So if you've lost your money, you bought a flight and it's been canceled, yeah, but you're only paying 80 pounds for it, or 60 pounds. I know it can be a lot of money for some people, but yeah, that's the free market. So we will see if the government, Theresa May's free market government, intervenes in this. They probably will, and people, will never learn that there's probably something wrong when you only have to pay, so much for flying around the world. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I wanted to talk about. It's a bit longer video. So if you enjoyed it, please like, share it, and if you haven't subscribe to my channel yet, please do. And you can also click on the little bell so you can get notices when I make new videos. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.